Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. Welcome to our 125th weekly episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. That's free programming to you. You can always find us on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. We have such a great show lined up for you today. Very exciting stuff. In our financial literacy segment brought to you by Cardone Ventures, today we're featuring Brandon Dawson, CEO of 10X Health System and author of 9-Figure Mindset, how to go from zero to over 100 million in net worth. He's the co-founder and CEO of Cardone Ventures with business partner Grant Cardone. Today he joins me to chat about his new book, Tips on Scaling Your Business 10X, and his secret to how he sold his last business at an astonishing 77X for $151 million. In our Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, today we're featuring celebrity chef Jonathan Scinto, a flavor artist, TV show creator, best known for his Italian and Asian fusion. Jonathan has been featured on the Food Network, Chopped, MasterChef 6, Good Housekeeping, and Eat This. That's just to name a few. He's quite the celebrity. He created and hosted the hit TV series Family Kitchen Revival, watched by over 6 million viewers. Today, he's joined by VIP Peter Guimaraes of New York City. Peter is managing partner at Bice Cucina Restaurant Group, founder of Tipsy Girl Wines, and owner of Bice Cucina right here in Midtown Manhattan. Today, they join me to chat about rude and demanding customers, the craziest things people have done while dining at the restaurants, and how Peter and Jonathan handle the drama. In our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Dr. Amir Marashi, a board-certified gynecologist specializing in labiaplasty, vaginoplasty, pelvic pain, and endometriosis. He's based out of New York City, Miami, and Houston, and he's the founder of Suray, the first ever pleasure product brand designed by physicians. Innovating sexual wellness is at the core of it all. Today, he is joined by beauty industry trailblazer Lana Kerr, CEO and founder of CO2 Lift and Lumisk Skincare. They're going to help me demystify sexual shame and talk openly about women's health and wellness, chatting about the health benefits of sexual pleasure and how to maximize celebration of self. It's all about vagina power. In our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring co-founders Mark Samponia and Ray Burbuge from Once Upon a Coconut, along with celebrity and dear friend Dean Mutati, an American professional wrestler and former American football player, best known for his time in the WWE, where he performed under the ring name Mojo Rawley. He's also a co-host on TMZ Sports and founder at Paragon Talent. They're going to join me right here in New York City at our iHeart headquarters at WOR Studios to kick off our amazing sponsorship with iHeart Media and Once Upon a Coconut. We'll talk to you about this incredible brand and how they're revolutionizing, that's right, coconuts and the beverage industry, but also how they're leveraging their position and power to give back. Stay tuned. We're featuring Brandon Dawson, CEO of 10X Health System and author of 9-Figure Mindset. Today, we're chatting all about his new book and tips on scaling your business 10X. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our financial literacy segment brought to you by Cardone Ventures, today we're featuring Brandon Dawson, CEO of 10X Health System and author of 9-Figure Mindset, how to go from zero to over 100 million in net worth. He's the co-founder and CEO of Cardone Ventures with business partner Grant Cardone, which in less than 4 years went from a startup to 130 million in revenue and over 200 employees. His ability to take the stage, help business owners succeed, and inspire his team to move things forward in true 10X fashion is what makes Brandon such a remarkable mentor, business owner, partner, and leader. Today, we're chatting about his new book, Tips on Scaling Your Business 10X, and his secret to how he sold his last business at an astonishing 77x EBITDA for $151 million. Now, about a decade ago, I first learned about a principle for maximizing time and effort pioneered by the very legendary leader of all leaders, John Maxwell. He calls it the 10-80-10 principle, and it breaks down like this. The first 10% is the beginning. This is the conceptual phase where you share your vision of the bigger picture. The 80% is the middle. After the initial phase, the project becomes your team's baby. You can help out here and there, but less is more. The final 10% is the end. You jump back in just before the team takes the project over the finish line. Now, concepts like this have stood the test of time, and with experts like Brandon amplifying and modifying this principle even further, well, you get nothing but success. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Brandon Dawson. Welcome, superstar.
Hey, thank you for having me on your show. I always love having an opportunity to talk to you.
Absolutely. Let's dive right in because everyone can't wait to hear about this. So first, tell us about your book, 9-Figure Mindset, and what motivated you to write it.
Yeah, great. And you mentioned John Maxwell. So John Maxwell wrote the foreword to my book, 9-Figure Mindset, because I've worked with John for 12 years now, and he's had the opportunity to see what I've personally done and witnessed it, not only as a participant and an instructor and a mentor, but also I've worked with John in John's business, and we had massive impact, and he talks about that in the foreword. So I'm very excited to be on your show. Mostly, I'm excited to have put this book out. I've been working on it for 12 years, showing people that if you get your mind right, you can get your money right. You get your money right, you get your scaling process right, and you help your people get their personal, professional, financial goals aligned with that. That's that 10-80-10. That 80 is making sure your teams are pulling the business forward because they're aligned with it. But it starts with a leader, someone who's committed to a big picture that other people can see themselves succeed inside of it. And what I found for myself in my first business that I took public at 29 years old and then screwed everything up is that no matter where you're at any point in time in your life, you have context and contrast, but it's only in reflection. I made so many mistakes, and it almost pulled me completely and entirely off target for doing what I dreamed of doing, and I got myself recentered. And John Maxwell and many other authors that I talk about in this book helped form and shape my thoughts, my actions, and ultimately my results. And I'm just excited to share with anybody who's struggling or the dreamer that wants to take control of their personal, professional, financial life in the future and bring it back to the present so that they have the right mindset to create the right results.
I love everything you're saying. And you know, it's interesting because if you're the founder of a services business, right, you're probably in therapy or in desperate need of help because a knowledge-driven business is one of the hardest to scale, especially if what you do is super custom and can't easily be productized, right? And add to that the fact that most service companies are deeply infused with the founder's ethos, and that essence is really hard to replicate. Still, you clearly proved that it can be done. And after all, there's a reason that the OG powerhouse advertising agencies that are still industry leaders today bear the founders' names like Leo Burnett or Ogilvy or Wunderman, Saatchi and Saatchi and Wyden and Kennedy, right? Their reputations and expertise were what the business was built on and grew, but things have evolved. So you don't have to necessarily take on that name, and you've done a fantastic job at branding your business and at really helping entrepreneurs everywhere. Now, you're known for saying that success isn't about working harder, but about ensuring you're striving towards the right goals and in the right direction. What are a few good first steps towards that end?
Yeah, so all business owners, especially in today's environment, and you think about what's going on in the macro sense of the economy and just the geopolitical environment. If you're a business owner, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things pulling you off of target. So what I talk about in this book is you need to go out to a future place in time. You need to pick a target out in the future, and then you need to visualize. You need to see yourself, what you're doing, what you're talking about, what people are saying about you, what your employees are saying about you, what kind of employees you've developed, and the teams that you have working. The further you can go out and put a pin in that and say, and a stake in it, and say, that is going to be my legacy. Because what you think is what you say is what you do, and what you do is ultimately what you're known for, which is your legacy. So the more intentional you are about establishing that legacy, and the more intentional you then are in the moment when confronted with pressure and stress and friction and resistance and fear and anxiety and emotion, you can go to that future point and go, are the things I'm going to do right now pulling me towards that future state or pulling me off target? Because in your present moment, you're mostly reacting to the conditions around you. And most business owners make the wrong decisions when under stress, pressure, and fear and anxiety, and their teams do as well. And they get overwhelmed with information, knowledge, opinions, polling, POLLING, asking everybody, what should I do? And how should I do it? And where should I do it? And when should I do it? And most of that advice is wrong. It's coming from people who have not experienced what you're trying to do. And it's coming from people who are not only not an expert, but they're not even an authority on what you're trying to accomplish. So learning how to surround yourself with the right people at the right time, asking the right questions, because that's your responsibility, and then taking the right actions. Well, it's not natural. It was taught to me through a multitude of mentors and authors and practical experience. In fact, in 4 years, by partnering and collaborating with the one and only Mr. Grant Cardone, 10X himself, I've been able to do in 4 years what it took me 25 years to do. I've created a business that in 4 years, from startup, no invested capital, no debt, organically built, bootstrapped, from zero to 48 months later, we're going to do $135 million this year in revenue. We've never had a non-profitable week or non-profitable month or quarter, and we've stockpiled an enormous amount of cash. This is what we teach business owners, because your actions will follow your thoughts. Broken thoughts create broken actions.
There you go. And I always say, to your point, to expand on that further, build your factory mentality, right? The pattern I've noticed is that the beginning and end of any given creative act, not the middle, are the crucial parts of the process to consider when evaluating concepts like variability and repeatability. And some of the world's most prolific and successful artists found ways to repeat the seemingly unrepeatable. I'll give you one of my favorite examples, Andy Warhol, right? As you probably know, Andy was a brilliant artist and one of the founders of the pop art movement, but it was his business acumen and ability to mass produce art that made it all possible. And as a young man out of college in the late 40s, he moved to New York City and immediately became a successful commercial illustrator and graphic designer. And in the 50s, he started making drawings, collages, hand-colored picture books. And it was the first time he effectively scaled himself by tapping assistants to do the middle stages of his artistic production and inviting friends and associates to what he would call these coloring parties, fun and festive, sure, but also expressly to help him color in his numerous works. And then, of course, in the early 60s, Warhol turned to painting and silk screening. But to your point, there was a given, proven system, and he was one of the first to do that. That was seemingly really difficult. Now, part of your philosophy, Brandon, is the concept of unrealistic targets as a catalyst for innovation, breaking barriers, and achieving unprecedented success that may seem daunting and maybe even counterintuitive for some. So why is being unrealistic a smart strategy in one's business or career life?
It's a great question. This is what I talk about in 9-figure mindset, because look, I was a 2.4 GPA. I barely got out of high school. I sucked at math. I was voted least likely to succeed from a little tiny town in Corvallis, Oregon. And if I was realistic, I would have got a job at a restaurant or at Les Schwab Tires, or I would have worked like my uncle did his whole life at a mill. Like that's what realistic people do, because everyone around them is telling them how to conform and how to behave and how to act and what to do and how to be realistic. Well, fortunately for me, I was never realistic because I was too excited to go out and explore the world. And you know, it's interesting. When I was 8 years old, I was hit by a car and I almost died. And people ask me, like, what is it that allows you to go out and just explore and invent and not be controlled or constrained by other people's opinions? And it's because every time I'd get confronted with fear or anxiety, or I'd be like, should I really make that sales call, or should I go visit that person? I could look stupid or be embarrassed. I reminded myself, dude, you should be dead right now. So what difference does it make? Everything that you do from this point forward is purely upside. So I never got held back with the fear of looking stupid or being wrong. I just kept going and going and going and going and practicing and getting better, finding mentors and finding better ways of doing things and being honest with myself when I failed, how to fix that. And what I would say is, what I cover in that book is having that forward-thinking mindset. Like all my life, I wanted to, as a kid growing up, I dreamed of going to New York. A little kid on a tractor in Corvallis, Oregon. Dreamed of going to New York and going to a tall building and doing something significant and being part of Wall Street. Everyone said, dude, you're not even going to get out of high school. So to ring the opening bell of the American Stock Exchange at 29 years old was such an unbelievable feat for me. And then losing it was so painful. And then having to start over. I discuss in this book how I made those transformations, who helped me, how they helped me, how I programmed my brain to go where I wanted to go so I could have the right actions today that would move me there, and how I didn't get sucked into the pity party. Although I did that for a couple of years, I talk about how I broke out of that. I just think working with the number of business owners that we work with, thousands and thousands of business owners, it's so easy to get pulled off target. And when you talk about Andy Warhol, he kept inventing himself. He kept innovating. He kept thinking bigger. He kept collaborating with more people. He kept staying on target, moving towards a stated objective, which in today we all look back and everyone knows that name. And his work is some pieces of his work are priceless. Some are so expensive. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And you just said it, it's consistent. And which brings me to, I want to be mindful of the time. We have about 5 minutes left in the segment, but injecting your team with your brand's DNA. So for me, this is extremely important because the brand DNA framework is an invaluable tool because it's a way of thinking about your business as a living, breathing creation. And it's a powerful means to express the heart and soul of your business, right? So the founder's ethos is at the core of this framework. Now, with a clearly articulated brand DNA, like you have, like Grant does, like even our show, you know, we feel confident that our team is applying their own thinking within the context of the creativity constructs and company values that we set forth for them. So now, you know, now that others handle 80% of the project execution, we can focus on expanding our entrepreneurial empire. And that's really what you're talking about. And it's being able to understand this and conceptualize it. So tell me, Brandon, what makes you different from the rest? And how could this set up business owners looking to own this next movement in the marketplace?
Yeah, so I think what makes me different is that I don't get stuck. I've started 4 companies. None of those companies have my name on it. I've always been okay getting behind somebody else's brand or creating a brand specific to a marketplace or an industry. Our whole 10X mantra, which I aligned with Grant Cardone, it's his mantra, but I aligned with it. And see, the thing makes me different is I teach business owners, just like I think myself, the bigger your picture is. John Maxwell talks about the law of picture. The bigger your picture is, the more people can see themselves succeed inside of it. They don't need to go outside of it to accomplish their goals. So if you can take this massive picture, this huge, and in our case, the 10X brand. 10X means whatever you're thinking about today, 10X it. This is Grant's point. And then when you get there, you realize I was still thinking too small. So 10X it again, and then do it again. Because you will, if you strive for that success and you bring others with you, because you can't 10X greatness by yourself. No one in the world's ever done it. Jesus Christ had 12 people helping him. I can't think of one person that did it all by themselves. Okay.
Agreed.
So get that out of your mind as a founder, an entrepreneur. to 10x means you got to multiply and amplify through people. And I think what makes me different from most entrepreneurs is I learned on the walnut orchard when I brought a whole bunch of people out to help me pick the walnut orchard and harvest those walnuts in high school. I didn't have to do the work myself. So every day where I was doing anything by myself, I'm like, why am I doing this by myself? There's no leverage in it. And I learned how to solicit the help of other people to get them to support me. Most business owners feel trapped that they have to do everything themselves. Whereas my mindset is I don't want to do anything myself. I want to find, attract, align, inspire, develop, and retain great people who are better skilled at doing the things I can't really do well. And I want to motivate them and inspire them and align them with a bigger opportunity to succeed. And people would say, well, that seems so obvious, but can I promise you something? Most small to mid-sized business owners, 97% of 31.5 million people in small business will fail every 10 years. Inspiration is not something that they're injecting in the business. And when you're not inspired as the founder, as the chief officer of the business, it's hard to get other people that want to be motivated through your inspiration. And they feel they need to go somewhere more exciting because you're talking about everything that's wrong instead of where you're going and how people can win with you. And I don't get trapped in that scenario.
I love what you're saying. This is invaluable pieces of advice that you're giving to the audience. And thank you so much for coming on. We're out of time, but I can't wait to read this. You are incredible. You are definitely somebody that people should be listening to, especially when it comes to understanding, financial literacy and taking their enterprise and empire to the next level.
And anybody that pre-orders it, I have thousands of dollars of free content. I was in the studio for 4 hours creating content. So if you pre-order this book on Amazon or anywhere else and register at ninefiguremindset.com, I'll send you that content along with the first 2 chapters.
I love it. Thank you so much, Brandon. You're awesome.
Thank you.
That was our financial literacy segment brought to you by Cardone Ventures. You could head directly to cardoneventures.com or check out Brandon Dawson on the gram at Brandon M. Dawson. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Nave, a members-only travel portal exclusively available through Organo, offering members steep discounts on nightly or weekly hotel stays, cruises, auto rentals, excursions, and so much more. With its travel getaway portal, Nave makes the days of surfing multiple travel sites and spending hours evaluating the best deals done with. That's because with Nave, you are guaranteed the best prices. Plus, to gain access to an even more expansive collection of condos, hotels, cruises, vacation villas, fantasy getaways, and concierge service, there's Forever Weeks. Simply purchase a Nave Forever Weeks package one time and enjoy the benefits many times. With Forever Weeks, forever means forever. Not only does Nave guarantee you the best prices, but it is also one of the few travel portals that pays a referral bonus, in addition to you earning rewards points, which can be redeemed on the Travel Getaway portal for further discounted hotel room rates. Become a member today and navigate the world of travel. Nave, the world for you to experience. For more information, go to nave.travel. That's Nave, N-A-V-E.travel.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, today we're featuring celebrity chef Jonathan Scinto, a flavor artist, a TV show creator, and best known for his Italian and Asian fusion. Jonathan has been featured on the Food Network, Chopped, MasterChef 6, Good Housekeeping, and Eat This. That's just to name a few. He recently created and hosted the hit TV series Family Kitchen Revival, watched by over 6 million viewers. Today, he's joined by VIP Peter Guimaraes of New York City. Peter is managing partner at Bice Cucina Restaurant Group, founder of Tipsy Girl Wines, and owner of Bice Cucina Restaurant right here in Midtown Manhattan. He's quite the celebrity himself. In fact, Bice Cucina is always swarming with famous people, from Mark and Donnie Wahlberg to 50 Cent, from Rod Stewart to Bruce Springsteen to the housewives of New York City. They all head to Peter's for a fun and relaxing time. Today, we're chatting about rude and demanding customers, the craziest things people have done while dining at their restaurants, and how Peter and Jonathan handle the drama. Of course, it's the people have lost their ever-loving minds incidents that make the news, but they are also a reflection of a deeper trend. Americans appear to have forgotten their niceties, especially with those whose job it is to assist them. Lawyers are reporting ruder clients. Restaurants are reporting ruder clients. Flight attendants, from whom rude clients are no novelty, are reporting mayhem. FAA fines for unruly behavior have already exceeded $1 million this year. What's going on? People are just mad. Welcoming now to the show are my awesome friends at hand, Peter and Jonathan Scinto. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Zen.
Hello. I'm so happy to have you both on today. So let's dive right in. This re-entry into polite society is proving to be a little bit bumpy, guys. James Corden a few months ago, not long ago, got 86th from Balthazar. Keith McNally, who owns Balthazar in New York City, slammed the late night show host for his allegedly rude conduct in the restaurant. And of course, James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but according to Balthazar, a tiny cretin of a man, the most abusive customer to any of the Balthazar servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. Peter, what is the craziest thing a customer has ever done while dining at your restaurant?
Well, you know why everybody's so crazy and mad? You know, I got to get political, Zen. It's this administration. It's making us crazy. We don't know if a man's a man, a girl's a girl. We don't know what the hell we're doing out here anymore. So this is why we're angry. But I mean, you know, I've been in this business 30 years. I started in the nightclub business. So I can tell you stories from the nightclub that you cannot even talk about it. But as far as in the restaurants, you know, a woman walk in proper with her legs crossed and her pocketbook and adjusting her makeup. 4 martinis later, she can't find her pocketbook. She's swearing and yelling. She doesn't want to leave a tip. So we've pretty much seen it all in this business. But you're right, it has gotten worse. And I'll tell you where it's gotten worse. If I have Fox News on, people actually yell at me. They want me to turn it off. I get like a lot of static now today from just political views. That's the worst I've seen.
So people get mad if you have Fox on in your restaurant, like what, they want CNN?
I had a review the other day. It was a 1-star review, and then I got notified on my phone, so I'm reading it, and they're talking about the fact that I have Fox News on the TV. So obviously I had to dispute it. They didn't talk about the pasta. They didn't talk about the service. So I sent an email to Yelp, and I said, listen, they're reviewing my TV. They didn't review the restaurant, and they removed it. But this is the hostility level that we're out there today with.
Yeah, without a doubt. So legion are the reports of discourtesy that some customer-facing businesses have been forced to play Miss Manners, and specifically visitors at the University of Indiana, the health system. They're now greeted by a sign that reads, please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. Your behaviors matter. So yes, we actually have to remind people to be nice. Jonathan, what is the craziest thing that a customer has ever done, and how have you handled the rudeness?
Well, here's a funny story. Me and my father opened up a restaurant in the early 2000s here in Long Island. It was called Home Cooking Cafe, and we were inside the Armitage Health Club, which was off of Sunrise Highway. So we had a lot of customers that were working out, and then they wanted to eat something, and we're making everything from scratch, healthy, really good comfort food. So our opening night, the first day we're opening up, we did our soft opening, but now we're opening up for the actual guests in the place. My father and me he's doing the front, I'm doing the back, and this lady asked for one of our gourmet salads that we made. Now these are farm fresh vegetables. They're coming from local Hampton farms and places like that we're working with. And she tells the server that we have sand in our lettuce. Now, granted, this has been washed many times, right? There was no sand, and they want a free meal. You know, they're entitled. They think that this is before all the Yelps and all the social media. So luckily, they're not posting it on Instagram, but they want free meals, and you have to deal with that. We had to give her a free meal because she was big mouth.
Because of alleged sand, you had to give this woman a free meal.
You got to understand, she was the big mouth of the actual place that we were coming to. So, she's going to trickle it down to all her friends and talk in the community. And so, yeah, it was frustrating to be able to do something like that. But at the end of the day, you have to deal with people who think they're entitled to whatever they want to do. And, it's hard as a restaurant to be able to deal with a customer because they always think they're right. They're probably not right most of the time. They're probably wrong most of the time. And, it's tough as a person who's a restaurant owner because we deal with a lot of stuff. Everyone has a bad day, right?
Yeah, I get it.
People don't assume that. They think, oh, well, they cook. They know what they're doing. They have to be on all the time. that is not the case. We're human beings, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, Peter, I know that you typically always greet people with a smile. You're never on the angrier side. You always try to diffuse any kind of escalation that takes place in your restaurant. I've witnessed it myself. But how do you go about dealing with a rude customer to the point where these days they could write anything on Yelp, whether it's true or not, and then it becomes set in stone. It can never be erased. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, here's my secret, right? I can never start my shift without having a drink. If I get there without any alcohol in my system, I'm going to be very ornery. Once I have a couple of Cosmos, a little tipsy girl in me, then I'm a lot more laid back. So, you always have to figure out what their issue is. So I'm great at trying to figure out, what is your issue? Like, what are you mad about? And there's nothing that a drink or dessert can't fix. And a smile and just being nice. So you never want to buck the customer. If you buck the customer, they're going to buck you back, and nothing good is ever going to happen.
No.
Oh, so, I love that mentality. But you're such a charmer. You're such a
drink, a dessert, a hand on the shoulder. Thank you so much for your patronage, and we'll see you tomorrow. It's the exact same people that complain every day.
Just make sure CNN is not on, right, Peter?
Yeah, no CNN.
Oh my goodness. So far we have no Fox, no CNN, don't buck the customer, put on a smile, buy them a few rounds of drinks, and let's make sure that we don't forget to clean the sand out of the lettuce. Now, our fight instincts are triggered, and this is, what's been happening because of COVID. I say the combination of a contagious, life-threatening disease and a series of unprecedented life-altering changes in the rules of human engagement definitely left people anxious and confused, and especially if they don't believe the restrictions were necessary, deeply resentful. You get a lot of people that are pissed off right now. So we all went through a time where, physiologically, people's threat system was at a heightened level. So I get that there's anger and frustration going on. But Peter, if a picky customer returns the food twice, and everyone else has started eating, do you discount the check?
Yeah, we bend over backwards for customer. I only remember one time, or maybe two times. I only remember one time in my history actually throwing somebody out of my restaurant, because it was the third time that the food went to the table. She was there by herself, and you could tell she was just looking to scam the place. So I actually told her, there's nothing else here on the menu that will suffice you. And at this point, I'm asking you to leave. And she happened to be a transgender, which I didn't know. And then she started posting stuff that I was a hater and all that kind of stuff. But
you have to be careful these days.
You get all sorts of people looking for a free meal.
Oh yeah, Jonathan, a customer wants to change the dish around due to dietary restrictions. Do you bend?
We've had that happen before. I do a lot of high-end parties out in the Hamptons. We just had it recently, right before the pandemic. We did a very large party. It was about 50 people in Sagaponack. And we get there, and there was an extra 10 guests that arrived. Now when you're making high-end parties, everything is allocated as far as the ingredients. We get there. We had no choice to try to create on the fly with taking ingredients out of the refrigerator, because, you want to make the customers happy as possible. Yeah, we do bend over backwards. It's because at the end of the day, you're only as good as your last meal. So you have to make sure that, you're taking care of these customers and making them happy. Look, what we put on the plate is sex on the plate, right? It's what they see. It entices them. It gets them excited. It gets them to want to drink more wine, which is great, when we're doing wine pairings. So, that's what we want. And I'll even join in with them and have some wine, because it calms me down when you're dealing with people who have a lot of crazy energy. So it's really important to take care of your customer. It really is.
I love it. I love that both you and Peter had that same mentality. Now, this is interesting. Peter, a customer complains your wait staff is too slow. Do you personally go tend to them, or do you address your wait staff?
Well, it depends what they're talking about. If there's two different type of slowness, right? It's either the food's coming out of the kitchen too slow, or the waiter's not getting to the table in time. If the waiter's not getting to the table in time, I take the order myself. I've walked by a few tables, and the woman will say, or the man will say, I haven't seen my waiter. Can you get my waiter? And I'm like, I'm your waiter. What can I get for you?
Perfect.
And if they see you make that effort, which a lot of owners might not do that, then it calms them down right away. Like the owner is actually taking their order. So I have no problem working in my, I'll bus tables. I will bring food out from the kitchen. I will take orders. When we're busy, and we all have to work as a team. So there's no pride and ego if you're a real restaurateur.
I love it. I love it. And you know, it's true because you're there all the time. And sometimes you'll have a manager at hand, but most of the times you're very hands-on. And I feel it's the establishments where there's no consistent presence of the owner, and it's left really in the hands of management. Managers, I don't personally see roll up their sleeves to go bust the tables or to take the order, but I do see owners do that. So there's a big difference in the way that you're leading your staff, right? In terms of them knowing what to do. So I love it that you do that. Jonathan, I heard that you have just recently launched a brand new book on branding. Yeah. Tell me about this incredible new chapter in your life. You're an author. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So it's Unleash Your Personal Branding. It's a step-by-step guide for beginners. A lot of people don't know where to start. That's the main issue, right? People want to leave their careers and want to enter another chapter in life. I've been very blessed to be able to learn from a lot of great people over time on how to market yourself, how to advertise, how to get yourself out there, how to network. And that's really what the book is in a nutshell. It's teaching you all those little steps to get there to where you want to be with obviously work, right? You have to put the work in. It does not come to you, no matter how much TV or how much interviews or whatever it's going to be, how much press. It doesn't last forever, and you have to get out there and do it. So this book will definitely give you a beginning stages. It's not the end all.
I love it. Congratulations on everything that you have accomplished. Peter, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And now it's time for me to go handle my rude customers.
That was our Culinary and Wine segment brought to you by Bice Cucina, featuring celebrity chef Jonathan Scinto, flavor artist and TV show creator, and that was VIP Peter G of NYC, Peter Guimaraes, managing partner at Bice Cucina Restaurant Group and founder of Tipsy Girl Wines. You can head directly to bicecucina.com and check them out on the gram at Bice Cucina Midtown. And don't forget to check out chefjonathans.com directly on his website, or you can check him out on the gram at Chef Jonathans. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cardone Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes in our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Dr. Amir Marashi, a board-certified gynecologist specializing in labiaplasty, vaginoplasty, pelvic pain, and endometriosis. He's based out of New York City, Miami, and Houston. And he's also the founder of Saray, the first ever pleasure product brand designed by physicians. Today, he's joined by beauty industry trailblazer Lana Kerr, CEO and founder of CO2 Lift and Lumisk Skincare. They're going to help me demystify sexual shame and talk openly about women's health and wellness. We're chatting about the health benefits of sexual pleasure and how to maximize celebration of self. Now, sex and sexuality are a part of life. Aside from reproduction, sex can be about intimacy and pleasure. Sexual activity, penile vaginal intercourse, what we call PVI, or masturbation, can offer many surprising benefits. Sexual health is more than avoiding diseases and unplanned pregnancies. It's also about recognizing that sex can be an important part of life. People with active sex lives tend to exercise more and have better dietary habits than those with less sexual activity. Welcoming now to the show are my amazing friends, Lana Kerr and Dr. Amir Marashi. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hi, Zen. It's good to be here.
Hello.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's dive right in. This is one of my favorite topics. Now, we might not all want to admit it, but most of us have a preferred word for vagina. be it Fanny, Muff, Minge, or of course, I'm all for those who prefer to solely use the correct anatomical term. But vagina nicknames are in fact here to stay, and a lot of them are quite funny. And quite frankly, life is boring when it's not spent having a little bit of laughs over terms like lady garden, right? So, Dr. Amir, you go first. What are the top names that you have heard women refer to their vagina?
I heard so many. I heard the cooch, Pookie, Cookie, you can name it. I hear so many things. And in the beginning, I didn't know some of them. I'm like, what is that? Being a gynecologist, I knew it should be, either the breast or vagina. So I had to ask my colleagues sometimes. But depending on what neighborhood you work in or what population you are talking to, they use completely different words. So my nurses from the Caribbean, when I do vaginoplasty, they call it the ton-up surgery. And they call it, they're like, oh, fix the pum-pum ton-up. So I didn't even know what pum-pum is, but I learned about that.
That is so funny. Okay, Lana, come on. You must have heard some top names as well doing what you do.
It's interesting what Dr. Marashi was saying, that pum pum is so Jamaican, and I'm from Jamaica, so they use it, but using that word actually just is so, it brings so much shame to me for some reason, just how I was brought up. But yes, it is it's funny, Zen, but it's kind of sad that we still as adults have such names for the vagina, because I like to call it the vagina. But again, I've heard, you've heard hoo-ha, your vajayjay, your downstairs, your kitty, your flower. But just on the flip side, I've never heard a grown man calling his penis the willy. Let me just play with my willy, but yet women have these other words. But yeah, but those are, there are tons of other words. But again, like you, I prefer the term vagina.
You're right. We have to start to demystify the shame around that word. We're at the beginning of redressing the wrongs and misinformation around this neglected organ. And so I think it's interesting that, there's actually code words for something that should be so simple. So I like it. I like to get the perspective on all of this. Now, Dr. Amir, why do you think there's shame and embarrassment? I mean, women know why there should be shame and embarrassment around the concept of talking openly about genitalia. And quite frankly, we don't get it because we talk openly about it to each other and to our kids. It doesn't make sense to us. Why do you think that there's shame and embarrassment in the word sex and vagina? Is it cultural?
It's so unfortunate, and I'm glad that you asked that. Even in medical work, what's the name of this entire area? The name of this entire area in medical textbooks is pudendal area. You know what pudendal mean? In Latin, it means the area to be ashamed of. But that's for women. Because for men, as you said, that shame doesn't exist. That's because, as I said in the beginning of my book, A Woman's Right to Pleasure, I always believed that God was a man because I felt like there is such a big difference on the way that we are treating women versus we are treating men. How you can get the carte blanche to do anything you want to do as a man, but as a woman, forget about third world countries and, you got to be a virgin, you got to be this, you got to be that. But there is so much taboo and stigma, about this area and talking about it. The clitoris, the anatomy of clitoris, by the way, this is, since you talked about Saray, this is the first pleasure tool that we built in the shape of clitoris. So this is the entire anatomy of clitoris. They told us in medical school that only this tip is the clitoris. We didn't know it's so big. It wasn't even in medical textbooks for the past 100 years.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Lana, I want to get your perspective on it too, but I want to be mindful of our airtime right here. But in a 2022 study by gynecologists at the University of Manchester in England, less than 10% of women could accurately label female genitalia. And the clitoris is even more taboo than the vagina, and arguably the most neglected human organ by medicine. It's still inadequately depicted in most medical textbooks and barely touched upon in medical training. And this is a serious problem because women have been injured by this lack of knowledge through botched reconstruction surgeries, anti-incontinence procedures, obstetric tears and repairs, and vulvectomies, that we need to stop the madness about being shameful to talk about this such an important topic. So yeah, I agree with you. That thank you for writing a book like that.
And Zen,
Go
even
ahead.
to speak to what you say, I think that shame that we talk about has even contributed to the prevalence of, you know, sexual abuse in what is the statistic? 1 out of every 3 women under the age of 18 have been sexually abused. And I think one of the reasons is that they can't even talk to an adult. There's so much shame about it that they feel muffled in talking about what is happening to them. So I think the more we can, you know, remove the shame or de-shame, or to make people see that this is just a normal part of our body, that even it will help our young ones growing up to not feel that way.
I couldn't agree more. Now, Dr. Amir, there's an entire group of women that are now proactive in wanting to feel more comfortable with their bodies, wanting to use procedures that will help vaginal rejuvenation. So this is something that we're seeing more and more of, because 20 years ago, this was completely taboo. If you went to the gynecologist and asked for vaginal rejuvenation, they looked at you like you were an alien. So Dr. Amir, how do you feel about vaginal rejuvenation? I mean, is this something that women should be practicing regardless of getting old or not?
Listen, what happens, we all start, all parts of our body, we start like a beautiful, plump plum, and we end up becoming like a prune. We lose weight, we lose water, we lose collagen. This is the entrance of the vagina, and the vagina is right behind it. People tend to think that vagina is like a flat, so penis goes right inside it. It's not like that. It has a downward angle. Why? Because when the penis enters, penis needs to hit the front wall of the vagina where you have the clitoris sitting on, and they call it G-spot, G-zone, whatever you want to call it. You have 12,000 nerves sitting up there. So the angle needs to be like this. What happens with age? This angle ends up becoming flat. So you're having penetration and you don't really feel it. And you're like, oh, you know what? I don't like to be with him anymore. I don't enjoy it. You have less and less sex, and it just becomes a chore. So vaginal rejuvenation, I tell people, I'm like, make sure you do it with somebody who knows the anatomy, because it's really all about fixing the angle. You don't need to make it tight from beginning to the end. You know, you fix the angle, you bring it to what it was before, and you get maximum exposure for the clitoris inside and out. And that's why, you know, knowing the biomechanics of intercourse is very important, and it's not studied at all. You know, we don't put as much pressure that I need to put on intercourse and sex as we are putting on anything else. Look on Viagra. For men, there is so much research.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to, you're bringing up a good point. For men, you have tons of research. For women, not so much. Under-researched, underfunded, you know, under-promoted, the whole thing. And I'm going to go to another question because I want to get Lana's perspective on this. But even just the act of sex, right, can help strengthen your pelvic floor. And a strengthened pelvic floor can also offer other benefits like less pain during sex and reduced chances of vaginal prolapse. But women who continue to be sexually active after menopause are less likely to have significant vaginal atrophy or the thinning of vaginal walls. And vaginal atrophy can cause pain during sex and urinary symptoms. So being educated in these areas as women, to your point, will help us remain with our partner for oh so long. I've been with my husband for 16 years because I know that it's not always his fault if we don't get to where I need to get, and I adjust accordingly. So I love what you're saying, and I can't wait to read your book. Now, Dr. Amir or Lana, you could go first. You're an expert in this field. What solutions are you recommending non-invasively for vaginal rejuvenation?
Well, thank you for that question. And just to kind of address it, we're talking about vulva vaginal. So Dr. Marashi talked about, you know, penetration going in through the vagina, but most women get satisfaction of the clitoris. And that is not just what you see sticking out, that iceberg, but it's like that iceberg is underneath. So you have to regenerate the whole tissue. And I like that he compared it to aging. And because he compared it to aging, and we're losing collagen, we're losing elastin, we're losing hydration, we need to do the same thing down there. We need to bring back the skin, thicken back that skin, bring blood flow to that area. And so, I like, we have the CO2 Lift V, which just does just that. It brings blood flow to the area. So it's nourishing that tissue, that clitoris, that vulva area. It's thickening the vaginal tissue, and it's increasing nerve endings. So you get that at a you can, as you start losing it, you can start building that back. So the CO2 Lift V is an at-home treatment that women can do in the privacy of their homes that makes that happen very quickly.
I couldn't agree more. Lana, I truly was blown away. I tried CO2 Lift V. It lifted, it hydrated, and rejuvenated everything down there in just 3 applications. I mean, it helped tighten and lift it all, basically using carbon dioxide. It was so simple. It enhanced circulation by rushing oxygen-rich blood to tissue and regenerated cells to improve sensitivity and lubrication. This was major for me. So thank you so much for sending that product.
Yes.
Now we are officially out of time, but thank you so much, both of you, for a very, very enlightening conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Guys, that was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2Lift.com. That was beauty industry trailblazer Lana Kerr, CEO and founder of CO2 Lift and Lumisk Skincare. And that was the incredible Dr. Amir Marashi. Check him out on the gram at NYC Gyno. And always check out at Get Surrey, a woman's right to pleasure. You're going to see incredible products there brought to you directly by physicians. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Welcoming back to our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2Lift.com. We're chatting with trailblazer industry expert Lana Kerr, CEO and founder of CO2 Lift. And we're chatting with the incredible Dr. Amir Marashi, NYC Gyno, NYC's finest gyno. Welcome back, my dear friends.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump right in. Now, Dr. Amir, how would you recommend parents to help their children in this area, and how young should healthy conversations about sex and genitalia start, in your opinion?
I mean, I tell all parents, you shouldn't really lie to your kids about anything or don't make stories. You can start telling them about everything as early as they can understand. I mean, for different kids, it's different. Sometimes they may be like 10 years old, they may be 15, they may be 12, somebody may be like even 7 years old. When you talk to them, you don't need to get too deep into it, but you tell them, well, you know what? First of all, yes, this is the private part. This is something that's very private, very sacred, and it's important for you to know, because you don't want your kids to be too open in the beginning when they don't have the mental compass to get abused or somebody else. So they need to know that's private, but they need to know about the anatomy of it. They need to know about, what's going on there and why it's private, why it's sacred. But there's no problem about exploring it and knowing about it and knowing that, this is the pleasure organ. This is the most, I think, sacred, but the most important organ that you have. One of the pillars of your happiness. So you got to talk about it, and you need to make them comfortable talking to you as a parent about it, not going and learning the stuff from their friends or something.
Yes, that's so important. You have to be the source of information, if you, at least to control the narrative in your household. I'm curious to hear Lana's perspective on this.
Yeah, I like what Dr. Marashi said. I think that parents have the responsibility to help their kids very early on recognize how sacred this is. First of all, by just simply naming it in the correct words. I mean, I have two boys, and when they were long, I said, "This is your penis." We didn't say, "This is your willy." We didn't use those terms. This is your penis. And if I had a daughter and I have nieces, I know their parents talk about, "This is your vagina." This is private to you. This is something special. You don't want, and so you kind of make them celebrate, understand how important it is, but it's not shameful, but it's certainly private, and you don't want anyone touching this. And and as they get older, then you can explain obviously the sexual benefits, but even from their young, you want to definitely name it for what it is, which is your shoulder. This is your vagina. This is your knees. I mean, and if you do it in a matter of fact way, they will understand that it's just like any other body part, except that it belongs to them. This part of you is private and shouldn't be touched by other people.
I love what you're saying. Now, in the study of immunity, actually statistically, people in romantic relationships, people who had sex frequently, 1 to 2 times a week, had more immunoglobulin A in their saliva, and people who had infrequent sex, less than once a week, had significantly less IgA. Now, immunoglobulin is the antibody that plays a role in preventing illness and is the first line of defense against the human papillomavirus, or HPV, what we call. So that's an interesting fact. Now, Dr. Amir, what are the different requests you are currently seeing in your practice surgically, and what category of women are seeking your services? Is it porn stars, regular women, models, actresses? I'm curious to know about who your patients are.
Of course, everybody likes to talk about the actresses and, the housewife, basketball wives, all of those. And I'm very happy to have those patients and that kind of following. But at the same time, I have all regular patients, a lot of regular patients. We get a lot of botched labioplasties, unfortunately. So over 50% of my labioplasties are a repeat labioplasty, on somebody who it got botched, just because there isn't too much knowledge about it. There isn't even enough training to physicians on this. I did my OBGYN residency. There's no OBGYN residency or plastic surgery that they teach you or train you on labioplasty at all. And that's why I have we did the first rotation for OBGYN residents, the first official rotation on cosmetic gynecology, that we had residents coming from Duke, from different hospitals in Brooklyn. They came to actually spend a whole month and learn about this, because people are going to ask you for it. And of course, no OBGYN is going to tell their patients, no, I'm not going to do it. But I think it's a crime to do this if you're only doing like 5 of them a year, because you end up botching somebody. So that is, most of my patients would be like a botched surgery. And we also have a lot of, as you said, porn stars. We talk about it a lot. They have different requests, but I do get a lot of porn stars too, because of course they want to look good in every different position. But this is not something that, as I tell people, you don't need any of these surgeries. I be honest, I tell people it's something you want.
Yes. Now, Dr. Amir, on social media, we can't really use the word vagina without getting flagged per se. So what is your go around? Because you are very active on social media and you have tons of followers.
I always called it vagina from the beginning. And we got a couple of times like shadow banned, but it came back. Recently, the person who is helping me doing some of the reels, instead of the vagina, do VAG, and then instead of the I, they put exclamation mark. So that's, but I when I talk, I don't censor myself. But sometimes when they redo the episodes or anything that we have any reels, just, they get the vagina out and they make it, which is so shameful, because you know what, it's all of these people who are censoring this, they all came out of a vagina and they are trying their whole life to get back in one, so.
Exactly. I love that.
Lana, what are your, you've never had an issue, I think, getting banned using the word, because you're a woman, or are they banning you too?
Well, yeah, we have to be very careful how we we position it. So we don't necessarily write the word vagina. We have to do it like, you know, you may put V and then A is a flower. You have to find different creative ways to at least write it. But like Dr. Marashi, I've never censored myself when I say the word. I say it when it's appropriate.
Of course. Now, interesting to get your perspective on both of this. So Dr. Amir, you could go first. How important is intimacy in a relationship, in your opinion?
I think it's very important. You know, intimacy in a relationship is one of the pillars of relationship. Why? Because it gives you that positive reinforcement that is very important for women, actually. Because for men, well, they can do different things. They would, you know, sleep with anything or anyone. Because for men, 95% of it is physical, 5% of it is in the brain. Of course, as men age, it changes. For women, 95% of it is in the brain, 5% is, you know, down below. So you need to have this, because every time you get a good orgasm, you get oxytocin, you get endorphins, which are your internal morphines. Now people go to the gym, run for like 1 hour on the treadmill to get hyped up and get those endorphins. You have one good orgasm, you get 50 times more than that 1 hour of running on the treadmill. So it is very important. You be happier. You know, right now they are making sprays of nasal sprays for oxytocin, which is the happiness hormone. You know, you can get it with sex, you can get it with masturbation. And you know what, with your partner, you need to, and that's why we don't call them toys, we call them tools. Because I feel like with your partner, you know, you can use tools and you can use your partner, and all of this together heighten that level of enjoyment and orgasms, the pleasure that you're getting, and that makes your brain happier and you be a happier person. So it is very important.
I love what you're saying. Lana,
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
All of what he said, but also in terms of in a relationship, it's about connection. And I think that for a man and a woman, or for in relationships, you need that, bringing that connection. It's almost like sexual intercourse is that bridge from one person to the other. So besides the benefits for yourself personally, as was outlined by Dr. Marashi, in terms of a relationship, it keeps you guys connected. I feel like, in fact, one of the things that I always talk about in that connection is, even before we get onto that, just intimacy, start with kissing. In a new relationship, most times, I mean, that's what you do a lot of. And as you get older in the relationship, that tends to slow down. So I think that you want to always start with that connection with the eyes and with, you know, with the kissing. And then eventually it warms you up as a woman, and then you want to continue. But certainly in a relationship, that needs to be on a regular basis to keep you guys connected.
I love it. And to your point, to both of your points, this love or intimacy hormone, you know, oxytocin, also encourages better sleep, because when your body releases the oxytocin, right, during orgasm, the combination of these hormones can act as a sedation. I know that if I have sex later on at night, I fall asleep, sleep like a baby, and that happens for a reason. Also, I suffer from migraines, so I use my husband the way I would use Excedrin. Okay. A study showed that sexual activity can actually provide full or even partial relief from migraines and cluster headaches. And of people who were sexually active during their attacks, 60% reported an improvement during a migraine, and 91% reported moderate to complete relief in cluster headaches. So the minute I get a headache, I'm like, honey, he's like, I'm coming. It's true. Well, we are officially out of time, but thank you so much, both of you, for a very, very enlightening conversation. And we need to have more of these conversations involving men.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Guys, that was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift. iHeart.com. That was beauty industry trailblazer Landeker, CEO and founder of CO2 Lift and Lumisk Skincare. And that was the incredible Dr. Amir Marashi. Check him out on the gram at NYC Gyno. And always check out at Get Surrey, a woman's right to pleasure. You're going to see incredible products there brought to you directly by physicians. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors, pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring co-founders Mark Samponia and Ray Burbage from Once Upon a Coconut, along with celebrity and dear friend Mojo Rawley, otherwise known as Dean Mutati. He's an American professional wrestler and a former American football player, best known for his time in the WWE, where he performed under the ring name Mojo Rawley. Now, he's the founder of Paragon Talent and co-host at TMZ Sports. Today, they join me in studio right here at iHeart headquarters in New York City at WOR to kick off their amazing sponsorship with iHeartMedia and Once Upon a Coconut. Now, we'll talk to you about this incredible brand, how they're revolutionizing coconuts and the beverage industry, but also how they're leveraging their position and power to give back. Now, they were inspired to create Once Upon a Coconut because people should create their own narrative around the brands they consume, not the other way around. And their goal is simple. They want to tell a story that we can all be part of while hydrating the world with next level, legendary tasting premium coconut water. Welcoming now to the show are my amazing friends, Dean, Mark, and Ray. Welcome, superstars.
Hello.
Hey,
how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us in studio. It's very exciting stuff for you and the company, and I can't wait to kick this off. So, Ray, we're going to start with you. First off, congrats on an incredible brand, a great tasting beverage founded by simply good people. But I must ask, what on earth possessed you to enter such a competitive and crowded space?
Well, Zen, that's a great question. We started off this venture with 3 goals in mind. Number 1 is, first and foremost, find a better tasting coconut water that was currently available on the market. Because we were all big coconut water drinkers, but we couldn't get around the taste that was out there. Because we really enjoy the not only the hydration, but the nutritional benefits of coconut water. It's probably one of the best things you could put in the body. And number 2, we wanted to disrupt the stale coconut water space. What I mean by that is not to have your father's or your grandfather's coconut water in a Tetra Pak with your typical coconut and palm trees, but put it in a cool branded can, slim can, where people can feel comfortable drinking at a pool party or in their backyard or at the beach. And so we wanted to create an edgy brand, and I think you'd see that if you check out our Instagram page.
Oh, for sure. I've not only checked out the Instagram page, I've made all my friends and family check out the Instagram page and the .com website. Now, you guys have an incredible product. Mark, I know you guys scoured the earth for a very specific type of coconut, and it landed you in Vietnam, the world's 6th largest producer of coconuts. There, the coconut is a form of religion, and this dates back to the 1960s, where people basically worshipped and consumed nothing but coconuts. And specifically, this region has insanely delicious tasting coconuts. Now, 0 additives, low in calorie, absolutely no artificial flavors. This does not feel like a mind-blowing taste palette, yet it totally is. I could personally vouch. What is the secret? So tell me how you harvest them coconuts and why Ben Tre Vietnam. And does Once Upon a Coconut add sugar to its coconut water? Curious to know how many calories there are. Talk to me about all that good stuff.
All right. No, well, thanks for having us. Yeah, so Vietnam was a very specific choice by us. I think one of the reasons was the climate there, the soil, the way that they harvest the coconuts really contributed to the taste profile of this product. So, you know, you said it, right? When people think about coconut water, they don't think about like great tasting, great flavor, things of that nature. So we wanted to make sure that we could provide something that had all the health benefits, but also great flavor and great taste. So we use a very specific coconut, the Hamona coconut, which is made from, which is a younger coconut, as opposed to other brown coconuts, which are more mature, more bland, a little bit more chalky. So the young coconut allows it to have a little bit more of the natural sweetened flavor inside of it. So we don't have any added sweeteners to the product at all, which is due to that young Hamona coconut. So that was a big deal for us, and making sure that it kind of stayed true to the flavor profile, the taste, and then, just having all the other health benefits that come along with it. Electrolytes, great for potassium, iron, great for digestion, all these different things, reasons why I take it. And the reason why I drink it more now than ever is obviously it's my brand, but at the same time, the biggest reason why is the flavor is just as good as the health benefits. So that's a little bit of the backstory. And Vietnam is a great region. We've worked with our factory out there and produced some great products, and we have a nice lineup that we're rolling out with all the different benefits.
Big shout out to Nam over there and those sweet coconuts. Dean, welcome, brother.
Yeah, baby. Thanks for having me on today, my friend.
Absolutely. Congrats on all your success, and thanks for helping us kick this off. Now, you are a public figure, and one can argue even an expert when it comes to fitness and health, given your career. As a mom, I love coconut water because it's truly proprietary in its health benefits. To Mark's point, potassium, calcium, and magnesium, those are all electrolytes. They play important roles in helping maintain heart health, liver and kidney health, digestive functions, healthy blood sugar levels, muscle and nerve functions, and so much more. I mean, I specifically started drinking it after my radiation while battling thyroid cancer. And typically, it's a cure-all for hangovers. Now, what was your first reaction when you tasted Once Upon a Coconut, and what health benefits do you love it for? Also, I'd love to know if there's a specific time that you generally drink it.
Absolutely. Well, my first reaction was, oh my goodness, this is absolutely delicious. And, with all the different flavors, oh my gosh, the pure, the chocolate, the pineapple, I mean, pick whatever you like the best. But it was just like, finally, I got a coconut water that I actually love. All the other stuff on the market wasn't for me. It was almost like a job to put it down, but this is actually a treat, and I can drink it all day long, which is sweet. But as far as the benefits, for me, it's just the hydration. I'm 37 now. I played in the NFL, wrestled in the WWE. You learn pretty quickly that it's not about who can lift the most weight or run the fastest. It's who can go the longest. And the biggest part of that is being hydrated and being healthy. And that's exactly what this is here. When you talk about performance, wrestling in front of big crowds 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that's everything. So this was just a perfect fit and just filling a huge void that I had in my training game.
Wow. Tell me what you don't love about it. Now, Ray, that was incredible. Thank you for that endorsement and being so transparent. Ray, what does the Once Upon a Coconut product line consist of, and what is the company's product roadmap?
Sure. Well, right now we have 4 flavors out on the market. Our 100% pure coconut water. Now we have our sparkling coconut water with 120 milligrams of natural caffeine. So it's sourced naturally. And our latest and the 2 greatest flavors are our coconut water plus pineapple, which is fantastic. It's one of my favorites. And the crowd favorite now is our coconut plus chocolate. So you have to try that. I was skeptical, but it is truly amazing.
The chocolate is my favorite. It's one of my favorites. I mean, you guys have incredible product line, but the fact that it's diverse enough to keep up with different palates is great. And the fact that you've added caffeine to one of those beverages, the sparkling one, that's a personal favorite of mine, especially after a workout. But the one thing that I truly love about this brand, again, back to being a mom, is that Once Upon a Coconut cans are PBA free. And if anyone knows about PBA, I mean, that could seep into our food or beverages from containers that are made with PBA. And factually, exposure to PBA is a concern because of the possible health effects on the brain and prostate gland of fetuses, infants, and children. And it can also affect children's behavior. So the fact that your can is clear of that is a big selling point for me. Now, Mark, does Once Upon a Coconut need to be refrigerated? I mean, how long does it last? Is it non-GMO? These are all important things I'd love to know about.
Sure. I'll try and go down the list here. So it should be refrigerated. It is a shelf-stable product, so it can remain at room temperature for up to 18 months. Hopefully not that long. If you're buying it, you consume it within the first few days you get it. But typically it's best served chilled, right? So you put it in your refrigerator, shake it up, and then you enjoy. So we made sure that it had all these different health benefits, but as well as certifications, like you said, PBA free, we're non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, all of these different things that really contribute to a very, very healthy and safe product, but also a great tasting product. So you can have it in your fridge for a long time. You can keep it in your cupboard for a long time, for up to 18 months, and it won't impact the flavor at all.
So if ever there's we all need to take cover and we have to go out in bunkers, I guess we could take this as a life-saving
You can totally
nutrient.
do that.
There
I
you
think
go.
I would happily survive on something like this. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Dean, how does proper hydration, you touched a little bit on this earlier in your earlier question, but how does it actually impact your performance? And can you share any instances where coconut water has really made a significant impact on your training or recovery?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, hydration is everything. I mean, it helps with my sleep, but just I sweat a lot. I'm a big time sweater, so replenishing is just absolutely key. But again, 37 years old, I've had so many injuries over my career, shoulders and calves and hamstrings and just tearing muscles. And again, you just got to make sure that you're just drinking nonstop. But you get to a point where just drinking water isn't enough. It's not going to cut it. You need something for that water to latch onto and stay in your system when you're just constantly on the go. And just adding in the electrolytes and everything in in the coconut water is exactly what does the trick. And as far as the time that hydration has been the most paramount for me, I would say that's been right now, actually. I finished up with the WWE about 3 years ago, and I've been kind of flirting with the idea of a return to pro wrestling. And I can say right now that I have begun to train for that big comeback after so many years. And yes, Once Upon a Coconut has been stocked in the fridge, and we're just running through it like crazy through every workout. Depending on where I'm at during the day, I like to drink the pure during my workout. The chocolate one is my nice little post-workout treat. And if I'm blending together something tasty, that pineapple is probably the best mixer on the market. So
wow, well,
say that.
Well, I think not only have you sold me on this, because I've been sold quite some time, but even hearing you repeat, all the benefits, but I think you just sold everybody that's listening, because it's truly that great of a product. Now, Ray, it's one thing to introduce a premium coconut water that tastes better than anything you've ever tried before, but it's truly something else to give back to the communities and people that truly need it. And that's why for every case of Once Upon a Coconut sold, you donate 10% to a charity that you select each month. Tell me, why is this so important to you? Which charities do you support, and how do you go about selecting the charities?
Well, Zen, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was our third goal in mind, because that's near and dear to our founders. And so, we want to be the world's best impact-driven beverage out there. I know there's certain brands that do certain things, but we have really stepped up to the plate and set an example of what this should look like. We partner with various different charities and organizations, like the Breast Cancer Society, the National Down Syndrome Foundation of Florida. We partner more recently with Charlie Rocket and his Dream Foundation, which does amazing things for people around the country, people that are in need around the country. So we're excited about that aspect of it, because again, that is something that that is near and dear to all of our hearts, because at a certain point in your life, everyone's afflicted by or knows someone that needs help. And if we can give back, and we truly do, it just makes this brand, a home run.
Amazing. This is so important to me to be involved with brands that are socially active, that are out there demystifying stigmas when it comes to anything from disability awareness to cancers to facial differences, inclusion. And I love that you and Mark and John are very, very at the forefront of all of these different issues, but very involved with communities, and that's extremely important. Now, I'm going to segue a little bit, but that was extremely important to touch on. So, Mark, beverage brands, we talked about this earlier. You're a big marketing guy. Beverage brands rely on packaging shape and design to draw in consumers, but this this new slew of skinny aluminum cans are basically here to subtly signal to consumers that their exotic new drinks are healthier than the beer and sodas in the short round cans of old, so to speak. And traditionally, beverage companies opted for, that squat model to allow more room to advertise the contents of their drink on the body of the can with colorful details and logos. So why bring back the skinny can now? And why is it important to Once Upon a Coconut?
Great question. So one of the big things we really wanted to focus on, and Ray hit on it before, was really kind of focusing around design and brand and giving this brand a personality through design, right? So that's everything from the can, the slim aluminum can that it comes in, which is actually a perfect size if you want to consume one. It's not too much where you have like a 12 or 16 ounce. Also easy for on the go. But the brand and the design in general was really kind of thought through from a positioning perspective to make it more approachable and fun and relatable. The name itself, Once Upon a Coconut, really kind of alludes to the whole idea of storytelling and embracing the idea of creating a story together with our consumers. So all of that contributed to where we are today. And if we looked at the category as a whole, and we knew that there was an opportunity to really kind of drive something that had a bigger story, more personality, more character, better design than anything that's out there, and that can connect with consumers, but also have that purpose-driven attachment to it. So we think we hit the mark. The audience and the consumers have shared that same sentiment. So we really pride ourselves on design and branding. So that's a little bit of the backstory of how we got there.
Well, you did a great job. It's sleek. It's sexy. I like to hold it. It's almost like accessory at this point. If you're walking around at a party and you have something cool in your hand, people are like, oh, what are you drinking? Versus if you have something that kind of looks like it came out of one of those dollar store can shops. But yes, I love the cool packaging. Now, Dean, it seems like your entire world revolves around brands and talent. You're now the founder of Paragon Talent Group, connecting brands with a universe of dynamic talent. Why do you think Once Upon a Coconut brand has taken off as quickly and successfully as it has? And why are all these VIPs and celebrities like yourself major endorsers?
I mean, first and foremost is the taste. It's absolutely delicious. But as far as why are so many athletes drinking it, it's because of the nutritional benefits that we've been chatting about here. There just isn't anything else on the market that kind of checks all of these boxes, and that's why Once Upon a Coconut has been great. And I can't tell you how many friends I have that are, Pro Bowlers or Hall of Famers in the NFL, or even all the wrestlers that have already stocked this out in their fridges before I even told them about it. Like they knew about it even before I did somehow, and that's just a testament to the product itself. So, I mean, everybody's kind of just loving it. All the different flavors, it's stocked out, so it's just been huge for everyone. It's been really fantastic to see.
Good job. Well, that is a wrap, my dear friends. That brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you so much for coming on. Ray, you're amazing. Mark, you have an incredible product on your hands. And Dean, thank you for being the best cheerleader.
Hey.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Zen, for getting
Let them do all the work. I'll just cheer over here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
having
Zen.
us.
Great to be on your show.
Absolutely. Guys, imagine a drink that's nutrient rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Well, enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. It's available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick some up today. Head directly to onceuponacoconut.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. You can check Dean out directly on the gram at Stay Hyped, and please do check out Once Upon a Coconut on their handle at Once Upon a Coconut. Head directly to onceuponacoconut.com and put in your order. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cardone Ventures Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
We are at the end of our date, my dear friends. That's a wrap. Join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m., or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/a moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform that's free programming to you. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. A big shout out to our newest sponsors, CO2lift.com and Once Upon a Coconut.